Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What kind of slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you. Toad Stool Sports. Thursday, February 12th. Bad day on the show yesterday. 3-5. I would argue it should have been better than that. It started off really good. Western Carolina blowout win to start it out, so that was not bad at all. We actually got the first 2 games of the night right, but I'm going to go down college basketball real quick. Georgia had one of the worst shooting performances you will ever see. I don't know. I think I can bring it up if you want. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Let me see if I can do it. Yeah, I think I can do it here. Oh, wait, I'm not sharing my screen. There's no way that Georgia should have lost as badly as they did. Yeah, let's look at this box score here real quick. 35% from the field for Georgia. They had 9 more field goal attempts in the game. 35%. Florida shot 51%. There's nothing you could even do about that. When you have a shooting outlier like that, it's absolutely ridiculous. Bullshit. VMI got blown out. Fuck them. UAB was an outright win, so we did get UAB correct. Winning is a big underdog, even though that line actually went up to 10.5. Atlanta Hawks did get there at the cover, although they did not win. They were losing for a decent chunk of that game by margin, but they did wind up covering. Washington did not get there. They were dead. Brooklyn was complete bullshit. Brooklyn was winning the game in a blowout for the entire game. I think they were winning by 16 in the fourth quarter, and then I think they lost outright or something. What are you doing? I don't even know how that's even possible, dude. I have no idea how that even happened against the Pacers. How could you expect the Pacers, after an overtime double-digit upset win, you expect the Pacers to actually make a comeback after playing the entirety of another game the next night? What the fuck? It makes no fucking sense. Brooklyn should have absolutely been a win, and then I should not have given out a play on the Kings. It was a spot play, but, those lineups are completely in flux. The Kings got completely destroyed. I'm done with this shit. We're going to move on to today. I have 2 plays today. I don't even want to do this fucking show. Kyle, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Let's get into it. I'm going to skip a lot of these games because I do not fucking give a shit. First game up is NJIT in New Hampshire, and I will continue to tell you NJIT is a complete fraud. They're not what they look like record-wise. New Hampshire is not good at all, and yet New Hampshire is a favorite in this game. And you know that if the public wants to try to play this game because it's the first game on the board, they're not going to play New Hampshire as the team with the way worse record. How am I getting points with the team with the better record, right? That's how the public reacts to this. Well, the odds makers are telling you NJIT is only very slightly better than New Hampshire. They already beat New Hampshire by 4 at home. Although, I don't know if NJIT was favored by more than that in that game. They might have been. No, actually, in fact, interestingly enough, New Hampshire was a 2.5-point favorite in that game. So now you're telling me that New Hampshire, after being a 2.5-point favorite at NJIT, they're a 2.5-point favorite at home as well. Like, you're telling me there's absolutely zero home court advantage for both teams? Yeah, it seems like there's some line value on New Hampshire in this game based off of that. And it's a revenge spot because New Hampshire lost at home to this team. And New Hampshire at least has some momentum right now. They just beat Binghamton, not a good team at all. So they're not going to be overconfident. Or, excuse me, NJIT did, excuse me. So, yeah, NJIT does have some momentum, excuse me. I was thinking they were in a bad spot. Well, they do have Maine next, though. Maine is one of the only teams that beat NJIT, so I guess they do have a look ahead to Maine. But, yeah, they are coming into this game with momentum at the very least for them. New Hampshire just got blown out at Vermont. Now they're coming back home. But I would have to lean to New Hampshire in this game. This is not on my card. But, yeah. Fuck NJIT. Complete frauds. I would lay it with New Hampshire, or if the line gets a little bit lower than that, a money line might make sense on that. All right. What else do we have here? I was thinking that, did Vermont just lose a game or have a close game? No, they just blew out New Hampshire, right? Yeah, all right. So there's nothing to really see with Vermont there. CBS Sports at 6:30 p.m. has Middle Tennessee at Kennesaw. I keep saying Middle Tennessee is not as bad as their record looks, and they keep playing pretty badly. They, I believe, have not played. Oh, no, they did play Kennesaw. They beat Kennesaw at home by 1 point, but I believe Middle Tennessee was about a 5.5-point favorite in that game. Because I think I remember it. No, 3.5. I'm misremembering everything. But yes, they lost. They won, excuse me, but didn't cover. Almost lost to Kennesaw, excuse me. I mean, Middle Tennessee, you got to think they're going to get up for a game. And they've lost 5 games in a row, and they just lost at Delaware. As I presume Middle Tennessee were favorites in that game because Delaware's really bad. So you got to think Middle Tennessee is going to show up for this one, even though it is a second straight road game. Kennesaw comes into this off a blowout loss, though, so I don't really know that they're going to overlook this game either. Technically, I guess it's revenge for them because they did lose to Middle Tennessee. I can't really do anything with this, but Kennesaw is a 3.5-point favorite in this one, which, you know, that line is not too far off from where it was in the first game with Middle Tennessee being about that same amount of favorite at home. The line has dropped from 4.5. I would probably take the points with Middle Tennessee in this one, but don't have a strong opinion. The total's fairly low in the 140s. 92% of tickets, 93% of the cash on Middle Tennessee. Makes it look like they're a public side, which I highly doubt because I don't see the public being on any team that has a record like that. So, yeah, I would lean towards taking the points there, but no real strong opinion on that. Valpo at Illinois State in the Missouri Valley. Valpo just upset Drake on the road. Now they have another road game here. They actually beat Illinois State at home earlier this season as well, and I would presume that Illinois State was a road favorite in this one because Valpo's not good. Yeah, Illinois State were 6.5-point favorites in that one on the road, and now they're 9 here. So it seems like the line might be a little short on this one with Illinois State at home. So it is a little bit of a revenge spot for Illinois State because they know as a road favorite they got upset. Valpo would have to pull off multiple upsets in a row here. For Illinois State, though, well, they're coming off a horrible loss to Evansville. So Illinois State, they're favorites in that one for sure. Evansville's the worst team in this conference. That was a bad loss for Illinois State. Let me see here. Illinois State were, 10.5-point favorites in that game. So, you know, I like to look for teams that lost as huge favorites. I like them to bounce back. So there's a lot to like about Illinois State in this one. They do play Illinois-Chicago next, though, and that is a revenge game and an in-state game because Illinois-Chicago is in Illinois as well, obviously. And Illinois-Chicago already beat them at Illinois State. So Illinois State might actually look ahead to that game a little bit, but I don't think they will off of that loss. I would lay the points with Illinois State here, but the money is completely disagreeing with it, and I do not know why. 93% of the tickets are on Illinois State, 51% of the cash on Valpo. If you look at Ken Baum, he actually will tell you that Valpo is not really that bad, even though I know I've been making fun of them all year and saying that they're not as good as they look, like they shouldn't be winning all these games. They're not actually that bad, although Illinois State is definitely the better team here. It might be like numbers guys that are fading Illinois State in this one. I don't really know because the situational setup definitely would have me looking at Illinois State. This one was close to making my card, but yeah, I would lay it with Illinois State in that one. Murray State at Indiana State in Missouri Valley here. Murray State just lost in a blowout at home against Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa's good. They're kind of under the radar. They're the best defense in this conference at the very least. So they actually pulled off a season sweep of Murray State. I think Northern Iowa matches up well against them because that defense can, like Northern Iowa could slow it down and play defense, and that throws Murray State way out of what they're trying to do, which is trying to run the floor and play fast. And Murray State has a huge game on deck against Belmont as well, and then they have Illinois State after that. So this does look pretty sandwichy here. They're playing an Indiana State team they already beat. However, they did not cover against them at home. They were 11.5-point favorites, and they did not do that well in the game. In fact, Indiana State gave them a little bit of a scare there. So a lot of times when I see that first matchup, the big favorite got a scare at home, a lot of times they will show up in the next game. And you could argue that maybe they will because Murray State, that game against Northern Iowa wasn't close. They got blown out as well. But the worry is that they're going to be looking ahead to those next games. For Indiana State, they just lost badly, and they're staying at home. They just lost to Southern Illinois. So I think there's no problem with the Indiana State side in this one. So I lean Indiana State here. Murray State's up from 3 to 3.5. There are a few things I don't love about it, but yeah, I would take the points with Indiana State if I was going to play it. Yeah, and Owen, by the way, of course, after UConn had a really good second half yesterday, and UConn did have the lead by margin late in the game, Butler wound up sneaking in within that number. So that was the first one I left off my card yesterday, and Butler covered. So isn't that fucking great? As they lost by 10, and I think they were 11.5-point underdogs or whatever. UConn was winning by more than that late in the game, too. I mean, it was a game, it played out kind of the way that I thought it would. It wouldn't have been a game that I would really have wanted on my card, even given how it played out, but it wound up being a little bit of a lucky cover for Butler there at the end. So I'm still kind of pissed about that. Marist at Merrimack in the MAAC conference. MAAC. Marist coming into this off a not great loss at Fairfield. Fairfield, I think, got up for this game. Fairfield's not a terrible team, though. Marist was only a small favorite in that one. That didn't end a winning streak, so sometimes when a team loses a win streak like that, like Marist just did, they'll be hung over to the next game, but I don't see that being the case here. They lost to Merrimack at home by double digits, so they have a road revenge motive here, or Merrimack might not know what to adjust this time and maybe not take Marist as seriously this time. Merrimack is sitting atop the conference. Marist is a couple of games behind them. So I am going to lean to Marist in this game. Marist does play Siena next, but they're not going to overlook the team that's in first place in the conference. One of the more difficult aspects of this for Marist is that they are playing a fourth road game in 5 games, though, which is not that easy. Merrimack, I still don't really totally buy what they've been doing here. They do have 4 wins in a row. They just absolutely annihilated Rider. Rider's not that good, obviously. I mean, Rider's probably the worst team in this entire conference. Merrimack, I don't think they're going to overlook Marist either, but it might be easier to do because they did already beat Marist on the road. So I would lean to Marist plus the points here. We got a low total that went up to 130. Merrimack, they play these ugly, low-scoring games, man. Merrimack up from 2 to 3.5 here, 51% of the cash on them, and 50% of the tickets, 50-50 on the tickets. I don't really buy that initial line move there. I would only take the points in that one with Marist, but no real strong opinion on that. ESPNU in the Big South at 7 p.m. has UNC Asheville and Longwood. UNC Asheville coming off the season sweep of USC Upstate. I don't think that really I don't think that matters. They did beat Longwood when they were at home already by double digits, so it might be a little bit easier for Asheville to overlook Longwood here, although I believe Longwood is not that far behind them in the standings. No, Longwood's right behind them in the standings. Longwood is coming off a close call against Winthrop, though, man. They almost pulled off an upset at Winthrop. Winthrop was a big favorite in this one, 10.5. So that was a big game for Longwood, and they fell just short. So even though, yeah, there's a revenge motive here, I don't really want anything to do with the team that just did that as a big underdog in the previous game. So I would have to stay away. I'd probably lean to UNC Asheville, in fact, in this one. Longwood dropped from 2.5 to 2 here. Looking at Ken Bum's numbers, he has Asheville as the better team by more than what the odds makers are letting on here. So I think he actually has Asheville winning this game by 1, I think. So he has the number a bit off from where it is, where the odds makers set it. I don't know if maybe there are injuries coming into play or whatever. But, yeah, I would lean to Asheville plus the points in that one, even though Longwood is in a revenge spot, technically. It's not a game I would really want anything to do with, though. Robert Morris at Cleveland State. Cleveland State did just lose their ridiculous win streak they had. They had 5 wins in a row, all as underdogs. And they finally had that snapped by IU Indy, of all teams. Probably the worst team in the conference besides Cleveland State. Now Cleveland State is playing Robert Morris. Robert Morris did win the conference last year, but they're not playing as well this year. I don't believe these teams have played yet this year, so there's no second meeting going on here. But Cleveland State does have Wright State on deck, so there is the possibility that they're hung over from losing the win streak, which sometimes happens when you lose a win streak. They might be looking ahead to Wright State because it is a big game, although they actually beat Wright State when they just played them during that win streak. Robert Morris is the better team here, of course. They're coming into this on a multi-game win streak. They did not have a letdown after they beat Wright State. They beat Youngstown on the road. I presume Youngstown were favorites in this game. Yeah, 3.5. So Robert Morris is coming off an upset. Not a huge upset, though. They do have Oakland and then Wright State on deck, though. So they're playing the top 2 teams in the conference right after this. So I can't get involved with Robert Morris in this one. Robert Morris is down from 4 to 3. I just don't buy Cleveland State at all. I mean, I might even still lean towards Robert Morris in that one, but there's no way that I want to get involved in that game. All right. What other games did I even want to talk about here? Cleveland State is just a weird scenario, man. Let me see. Man, my neck is killing me. IPFW and Green Bay on ESPN2 at 7 p.m. IPFW just had a close call at Wright State. Big game. Kind of a big game for both teams, actually, but maybe bigger for IPFW. They were pretty big underdogs in this one, I think. Well, 6.5. So they covered, didn't win. Somewhat close game towards the end of the game. So IPFW is coming off that big game. Second straight road game. They're playing Green Bay. However, Green Bay did embarrass them on their own floor earlier this season by 18 points. So there is a road revenge motive for IPFW here, but the spot does not set up that great for them. Green Bay just had a win over Detroit. Not a big deal there. So I think the spot does set up better for Green Bay in this one. Revenge is not always the way to look, man. Green Bay up from 1.5 to 2. I would probably lean Green Bay in that one. Money line would probably be the way I would look. Stonehill at Chicago State. Stonehill just had a close call against Long Island again. They've actually played Long Island pretty well twice in a row. Not twice in a row, but both times this season, I should say. Long Island is the best team in this Northeastern Conference. Stonehill were pretty big underdogs in that one on the road, and they only lost by 7. They were within a couple possessions late in that game. So that was a big game. They're coming off of that. They could be in a hangover spot. They're playing Chicago State, who they did already beat at home, and I believe Stonehill was not favored by that much. They only won by 3 in that game, and it was an overtime game. They didn't cover. They were 4.5-point favorites. So, I mean, maybe because Chicago State took them into overtime in Stonehill, Stonehill will take them seriously, but coming off that game against Long Island, I think it's more likely a hangover spot. It's a 4th straight road game for Stonehill as well. And playing in Chicago is kind of weird for a team from Easton, Massachusetts to be doing. Chicago State, I was correct about them the other day. They beat St. Francis. They're just staying at home. I don't know if they're going to have any sort of look ahead to Lemoyne next. Technically, it is a revenge spot for Chicago State here. I would lean to Chicago State. They are at a pick'em right now, so you could look at either playing the pick'em spread or the money line, depending on what the better value is, which market has the better value. All right. Hofstra and Charleston, this is a big game in the Colonial. Two of the top teams in the conference, along with UNC Wilmington. These are the top three teams in the conference. Hofstra is coming up beating Towson 71-49. Very satisfying win. However, I highly doubt Hofstra is going to overlook Charleston. Charleston beat them in Hofstra not too long ago, and Hofstra were definitely favorites in this one. They were actually only 2.5. I'm kind of surprised because I thought that the power ratings had Hofstra as the better team. Hofstra does have UNC Wilmington on deck, so they're having to play back-to-back big games on the road here. But, again, they're not going to overlook Charleston. It's a bit of a road revenge spot here. And Charleston is not in a good spot themselves because they did just have a big game against UNC Wilmington. Now, they are staying at home, but coming off a big game like that where you get up emotionally for, even though they did lose it by double digits, I don't like the setup for Charleston here. That did break a 5-game win streak for Charleston as well, so that could hang them over a little bit. But you get up for a game like that and then you get knocked down, man. I thought Charleston would play better in that game. They did not. I would have to lean to Hofstra in this one. Charleston's down from 1.5 to 1 here, but yeah, Hofstra would be the way I would play that game. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Excuse me. Some of these other games I'm skipping. I mean, if you want me to talk about them, I can, but I don't know. I mean, I usually talk about a lot of fucking games anyway, but a lot of these games are just uninteresting. Let's go to one of my best bets here. Next up, we're going to be on Elon plus the 7.5. I think we're going to get a decent amount of value on Elon finally after they've fallen down and they've lost a bunch of games in a row. They've lost 3 games in a row, most recently losing as a home favorite against Drexel. Drexel is not a good team, man, and maybe Elon was looking ahead to this game against UNC Wilmington. UNC Wilmington, I believe they have not played them this year, so I believe this is, they play them at the very end of the season, so not a second meeting, but Elon coming off a really ugly home loss, as moderately sized favorites, so I do like a team to bounce back after a game like that. Maybe it would be good for them to go out on the road, but UNC Wilmington, I think, is going to be in a letdown spot, man. They just had a big win against Charleston, and that was after they had a big game against William and Mary and fell short. So they played 2 big games in a row, and it gets worse than that because after they play Elon, they have Hofstra on deck, and Hofstra is no longer a mystery. We know Hofstra's right there, man. Hofstra's right behind them in the standings. Well, almost. They're in 3rd place in the conference right now, so this is a sandwich spot for Wilmington here, man. So we're going to be on Elon, not Musk. If we look at Elon, KenPom has them pretty unlucky in the bottom 3rd of his luck index. They're actually a top 100 offensive team, but they are miserable defensively. I know Elon is not good on defense. I get it. I don't really love bad defenses in general, but this is about the spot, man. And Elon does play a mid-tempo team, but UNC Wilmington is going to be slowing the game down, and they're worse on defense than they are on offense, although they're a better defensive team than Elon, of course. But we're going to be asking UNC Wilmington to cover a pretty substantial number, 7.5, in a spot like this when they play a slow pace. Yeah, I just don't think it's great. I think it's a bit of a big ask for Wilmington. And then Wilmington is pretty high in KenPom's luck index at 110. So we're getting the unluckier team, in Elon. We're not getting the better defense, getting points, unfortunately. But this is what we're doing. It's a spot play. We do have the luck index in our favor in that one with Elon. So we're going to take Elon plus the 7.5. The line did drop a little bit from 8 to 7.5. The total's in the 150s, which is, yeah, a little bit higher than I would like, but that's the play, man. All right. We have, let me see. UIC and Drake. This one almost made my card. UIC is coming off a couple of big games where they played pretty competitively against Murray State and Belmont. So those are the two of the top teams in the Missouri Valley, and they have another one of the best teams on deck in Illinois State, although they actually already beat Illinois State on the road, but that still might be a big deal. So they look like they're pretty much in a sandwich spot here. They're playing Drake, and they actually already beat Drake at home by 7. So it is a bit of a revenge spot for Drake as well. Drake coming into this game on a 4-game losing streak. They just lost at home as, I'm assuming, a favorite to Valpo. So the other losses were pretty explainable for Drake, losing to Bradley, Belmont, Illinois State. Those are good teams. Then maybe they just had nothing left in the tank against Valpo. So I expect Drake to bounce back here, man. One concern might be maybe a look ahead to Northern Iowa, but Northern Iowa is kind of in the middle of the pack right now in the standings. So I do like Drake in this game. This one is close to being on my card. There just didn't seem to be enough for me to really latch onto here. Drake's up from a pick'em to a 1-point favorite there. UIC, I mean, they were just not quite close enough to Belmont at the end of that game for me to totally want to do it. But, yeah, I like Drake in this one. It would be close, very, very close to being a play for me.
I don't even like Drake.
You don't like the Drake?
I hate the Drake.
I love the Drake.
How could you not like the Drake?
Who's the Drake?
Who's the Drake?
The Drake is good.
Oh.
The Drake is good. Yeah, I would agree with Drake in that one. It would be a money line play on Drake. All right, next up is the final play of the day. We're going to play Tennessee Tech plus 4.5. We're going to the ugly Ohio Valley here, man. We're going to fade Morehead State. In this case, we don't want Morehead, all right? Tennessee Tech, first of all, they just took an ugly home loss to Eastern Illinois. Eastern Illinois is bad. Tennessee Tech were definitely favored here. They're 4.5-point favorites. Tennessee Tech shot horribly in the game, 15% from 3. Not that they're a great three-point shooting team, but they actually dominated Eastern Illinois in the more predictable stats, out-rebounding them by 12. So it's like, how did they even lose this game? Well, it's because they had 21 turnovers. I mean, that's got to be something you can clean up, man. So I think that was a bit of a weird result. There were some outliers going on in that stat sheet there. Usually teams will bounce back from ugly losses as a favorite like that. So I think this sets up fine for Tennessee Tech. And this is a second meeting. This is revenge for Tennessee Tech, or more so, Morehead State might not take them seriously because Morehead State won at Tennessee Tech. Tennessee Tech were actually favored in that game, believe it or not, at 1.5 in that game. So, you know, I mean, these teams don't get a whole lot for home court advantage, so this line is not that far off from that one. But Tennessee Tech might show up with a bit more focus in this one, man, for both those reasons. Meanwhile, I think Morehead might completely overlook this game because look at what Morehead just did. They just played the top 4 teams in the conference right now, standing-wise, all in a row. Or 4 of the top 5, excuse me. They beat SIU Edwardsville. They lost by 1 to Lindenwood. Lost on the road to a good SEMO team. And then they had a second straight road game, and they upset the top team in the conference, UT Martin, the Skyhawks. The Eagles versus the Skyhawks. There you go. Morehead State were 8.5-point underdogs in that game, and they pulled off that big upset, man. That was huge. But they also have the second-place team in the conference on deck, Tennessee State. So they are in a sandwich spot here, man. And they lost to Tennessee State earlier this year, 105-100 in a crazy high-scoring overtime game. So they probably remember that. They're probably going to be looking ahead to that. Don't think they care about a team they already beat on the road. This is a sandwich spot. Definitely a letdown spot as well. We're going to do it. Tennessee Tech is the play in this one. Moorhead has dropped a little bit from 4.5 to 4. I saw 4.5s at a lot of books still. The total's pretty low at 145, so that's looking pretty good as well. Moorhead, Ken Baum has them as the 6th luckiest team in the country. So they are overperforming big time. And they might be kind of riding off their name recognition because people kind of remember, oh, yeah, Moorhead, that was that team with Kenneth Fareed, the Manimal, if you remember him when they were in the tournament. I believe they upset Louisville, which I think I had a play on them in that game. They were like 9.5-point underdogs, I think, in that game, whatever that was, in a 13-4 upset in some tournament years ago. I don't know. I'm reminiscing about tournaments. Moorhead is also outside of the top 300 on defense, according to Ken Baum, so that's not a great sign. And they're a slow-paced team, so there is that. So Moorhead being at home, they'll probably slow the game down. Makes it more difficult for them to cover a number like this. For Tennessee Tech, yeah, they're a bad team. Yeah, they're outside of the top 300 overall. They're also outside of the top 300 on defense, but both teams' defenses are bad, so it kind of evens out. And Tennessee Tech, the main disparity here is the luck index. We're playing some pretty major luck index disparities here. This one is huge. Tennessee Tech is outside the top 300 in luck. So Ken Baum is telling you they have underperformed, whereas Moorhead State is way overperformed. And Tennessee Tech plays like a mid-tempo style. They'd probably be fine to be in a slow-paced game as well, which we're fine with if we're taking points here. So Tennessee Tech is the play. All right. I don't have any more plays, but I will talk about some of the rest of these games here. Evansville at Southern Illinois. Evansville did break a losing streak, a long losing streak. So sometimes when a team does that, they will have new momentum moving forward, but they just upset Illinois State, man, as I pointed out. That was a big upset, so they could definitely be in letdown mode here. Playing Southern Illinois, who they actually haven't played yet because one of their games that was scheduled against them got postponed to later in the season. Southern Illinois comes in off an easy win over Indiana State. Doesn't really matter. The problem with Southern Illinois is they might have a look ahead here to Bradley because that's a big Illinois rivalry game there. So that would be the major issue with Southern Illinois here is that that is definitely going to be a big game for them against Bradley. But I would fade Evansville if I was going to play this. Southern Illinois is an 11.5-point favorite, though, up from 11. And we have a pretty low total in the 140s here, low 140s. But I could only look to lay the points in that one because Evansville is in a huge letdown. St. Thomas is at Omaha. Yeah, Omaha should get up for this game. This is in the Summit League. St. Thomas, I still think is maybe the best team in this conference, even better than North Dakota State, even though they lost once to North Dakota State. Omaha, they won the conference last year. They're not as good this year. They're coming up a big game against North Dakota State. They lost by 8 on the road, and they played fairly well in that game. So now they're having to play 2 huge games in a row, and that is kind of the issue here with and they haven't played St. Thomas this year yet, but they could be in a bit of a hangover spot here. Now, I don't think they're going to overlook a team that's as good as St. Thomas, but having to play these 2 big games in a row, the 2 top teams in the conference in a row, that is not easy, man. And St. Thomas is coasting off an easy win over Oral Roberts. So, yeah, I mean, I actually probably would lean to St. Thomas in this one, minus the 4.5, but no strong opinion on that game, but I just thought it was a bit of an interesting setup. And then Coastal Carolina at Louisiana is interesting. Coastal Carolina in the MAC Sunbelt Challenge. If you guys haven't seen the highlights from this game, it was one of the most insane games of the season. They just beat UMass in 3 overtimes. UMass was actually, I think, a 2.5-point road favorite in that game. And UMass blew the lead in the second half. They were winning by double digits. Coastal looked like they were dead in the game. I'm not happy because I was rooting for UMass just as a Mass guy. Coastal Carolina and both teams actually kept hitting just ridiculous threes at the end of the second half and in the overtime periods. Like so many threes went down to extend the game further. It was crazy. It was like every overtime, somebody was hitting a 3 to retie the game and send it into overtime. It was insane. So of all that, and Coastal Carolina wound up winning the game. I don't know what they're going to have left after that, even though they haven't played for a while. That game was actually, that game I think was Saturday. So yeah, they haven't played for a few days, but still that type of game can take a lot out of you, man. And they're playing this Louisiana team. It's not very good. I don't think they've played them this year. They only have James Madison on deck, though. James Madison's not having a good season, but Louisiana's kind of sneaking up right now with 4 straight wins. So they're on a nice little run here. They won their MAC Sunbelt Challenge game against Central Michigan. No big deal there. I would have to lean to Louisiana in this one after all that Coastal did in that game. Coastal did go up from 1 to 1.5 here as a road favorite, but I would probably take the 1.5 with Louisiana. Sacramento State, Northern Colorado, kind of interesting. I keep talking about how I think Northern Colorado is not as bad as their record looks in the Big Sky Conference here. Sacramento State already beat Northern Colorado at home, and Sacramento State were big underdogs in this game, believe it or not. Northern Colorado were 6.5-point underdogs in that game, and now at home, I believe they're only like 7.5. Yeah. So, like, what gives? How could Northern Colorado only be 1 point more heavily favored at home than they were on the road? Well, of course, you do have to adjust your power ratings and whatever to, if you get things wrong, you do have to adjust. But I think this is an over-adjustment, man. So, yes, I like Northern Colorado in this game. They're up from 7.5 to 7.5 with juice. I would look towards laying the points here. It is a revenge spot because Northern Colorado lost the big favorite on the road to Sacramento State. I think Northern Colorado is undervalued a little bit in this game as well. Even if you needed to adjust a little bit, I still think they should be a heavier favorite than this. And for Sacramento State, they just almost beat the top team in the conference, Portland State, man. Sacramento State lost to them by 1 at home, so they're coming off of that game, and that ended a 3-game win streak for them. So they're in a hangover spot as well here. So Northern Colorado is the only way that I would look in that game, man. And Northern Colorado, they're on a nice 4-game win streak. They got some momentum. The problem with them is that they do have a huge game on deck with Portland State, so potential look ahead there, but I don't see them overlooking a team that they already lost to once. So Northern Colorado would be the way I would play that game, but you do need them to win by margin in that one. Okay. South Alabama Southern Miss is kind of an interesting one. South Alabama, they beat Buffalo in the Sunbelt MAC Challenge. Not a huge deal, but they do have a big game on deck against Arkansas State, and then they have Marshall after that. Arkansas State is good and better than their record looks, and Marshall is above South Alabama in the standings, so those are pretty big games. So it's possible they overlook Southern Miss. They have not played each other this year yet. Southern Miss is coming off a big win, though, against the MAC. They beat Kent State, who's one of the better teams in the MAC, so that was a big win for Southern Miss. And they have Troy on deck, which is a big game, but I don't think they're going to overlook the team that's in second place, or, fourth place now in the conference, South Alabama. But I don't know. I don't really think they will overlook South Alabama. So I don't even know what I would want to do with this game, man. Southern Miss dropped from -1.5 to a pick 'em, though. So the money is coming in towards South Alabama. Overall, I don't really disagree with that. I think the spot probably does set up a little bit better for South Alabama in that one. So I guess that is the way I would lean there. SEMO and SIU Edwardsville is one of the better Ohio Valley games of the day. These two teams are up near the top of the conference. SEMO already lost at home to SIU Edwardsville pretty ugly by 13 points, and SEMO were definitely favored in this one. Let me see. Yeah, they were 9.5-point favorites in this one, and they lost the game outright by double digits. So they might be they probably have this game circled, man. They're definitely an avenging road underdog here, man. When a team loses a big favorite at home, you're going to get an effort out of them when they play that same team on the road. They're coming off an easy win over Southern Illinois. Southern Indiana, They got 6 wins in a row, mostly against some bad teams, although they did start their win streak by beating UT Martin, the best team in the conference. I mean, this SEMO team is definitely a legit team as far as the Ohio Valley is concerned. SIU Edwardsville just beat Little Rock. They're coming home from a road trip. They got UT Martin on deck. Will they look ahead? I don't know. They probably won't overlook SEMO, but I think you're going to get a good effort out of SEMO in this one, man. And this line is at a pick'em, which seems a bit ridiculous. If SEMO was 9.5-point favorite at home, you got to think they should be favored on the road. So I think this is an over-adjustment to what these teams have done throughout the season since then. I would have to look towards Southeast Missouri State in that one. SEMO as a pick'em. I mean, it just seems ridiculous just getting to pick the winner, and that's who you get to pick. I like SEMO in that one. UT Martin against Lindenwood. Of course, we know UT Martin just had that really ugly upset loss to Moorhead. They did lose a 4-game win streak, so there is the potential of a hangover. And they're playing Lindenwood, who they did already beat at home by 14. But I don't know, man. Will they overlook Lindenwood? I mean, maybe, because they do play SIU, Edwardsville, and Southeast Missouri State in the next 2 games. So there is the potential that they're going to overlook Lindenwood, but I don't know. When you lost ugly as a big favorite like that, a lot of times you will still show up with focus in the next game. Lindenwood should be focused as well here. It's a big game for them. They just beat Little Rock in their last game. Not a big deal. Lindenwood's a 1.5-point favorite there. I probably still would lean to Tennessee Martin, though, to bounce back from that horrendous loss as a big favorite, but it's a tough game to handicap, man. Cal Baptist at Southern Utah. Cal Baptist just almost lost to Abilene Christian at home. Cal Baptist, I'm assuming, was a big favorite here. Yeah, they're 8.5-point favorites. So, again, when a favorite barely gets by like that, but yet they continue their momentum, Cal Baptist has won a bunch of games in a row, 8 games in a row, threatening Utah Valley for this conference, man. So, I think they're going to come into this game with momentum and actually show up, although they did beat this Southern Utah team already at home, but they were 14.5-point favorites, and they barely won the game. So, again, that's probably going to make them take Southern Utah more seriously because they almost upset them when they were big favorites. They're coming off another game where they were nearly upset. I expect focus out of Cal Baptist in this one, man. I like them in this one. For Southern Utah is coming off losing to Tarleton, which is a pretty ugly loss. I mean, I think we're not going to get an unfocused Southern Utah team here. It's just that Cal Baptist is the better team, and if they were going to show up with focus, I think I would have to lean towards them. But they did drop from 6.5 to 5.5 in the game, and the total's fairly low in the 140s, although it is moving up. But I would lean to Cal Baptist there. CBS Sports at 8:30 p.m. has Louisiana Tech at Missouri State in the Conference USA. I don't know why this game gets televised. It's not a good game. Sorry, Justin, the Missouri State fan that we have in the chat sometimes. Louisiana Tech coming off a nice win over Sam Houston. Sam Houston is up near the top of the standings in the conference. I told you Sam Houston was pretty good, man, at least as far as this conference is concerned. So La Tech's coming off a decent win. These teams haven't played each other yet this year, I don't think. But I don't think they're going to overlook Missouri State because Missouri State is ahead of them in the standings. And Missouri State is coming off almost beating Liberty on the road. So it doesn't get much bigger than that in this conference, man. Liberty's still undefeated in the conference. That was a huge game for Missouri State. They were big underdogs in the game, 9.5-point underdogs, and they came within 3. I don't think they really had a legit chance to pull off that upset, but they made it really close at the end. So I think they're going to be hung over coming off of that. I would have to look towards Louisiana Tech in that game. Missouri State down from 7 to 6, so you did lose the key number 7. Total is low in the 130s. Louisiana Tech would be the way I would have to lean in that one, plus the points, of course. Northern Iowa at Belmont. Northern Iowa, of course, really, really good on the defensive side of things. These teams did already play this year, and Belmont won at Northern Iowa by 13, so there is a bit of a road revenge motive for Northern Iowa coming into this one, and they're going to be an underdog and a really good defense, and you know I like good defenses getting points. Problem is, Northern Iowa they're on a 3-game win streak, but their last 2 wins are against Bradley and Murray State on the road against Murray State. So they're playing 3 big games in a row, man. Yeah, they should get up for this game, but the problem is the fatigue going to set in with Northern Iowa having to play these intense physical games game after game? Meanwhile, Belmont is in a bad spot, though, if you think about it. Belmont just lost a long win streak Their first 2 conference losses were really early in conference play. And they had not lost for quite a while, man, for probably weeks. I think they had won 10 games in a row, I think, until they lost to Bradley in their most recent game. So that is the type of thing that can hang you over, man. And they do have Murray State on deck, which is a big game. Even though they already beat Murray State once, that's going to be part of the battle for the top team in the conference in the Missouri Valley. So I would have to look towards Northern Iowa in this one. That is the way the money is going as well. It looks like Belmont down from 6 to 5, 67% of tickets, 61% of the cash on Belmont. So they are the public side with less of the money on them. I mean, there is the potential maybe for a bounce back from Belmont because they lost by double digits, but I think it's more likely it's a hangover spot for them. You do have to worry about Northern Iowa keeping up that effort multiple games in a row, though, and that's maybe the bigger problem there. But, yeah, I would have to take the points with Northern Iowa if I was going to play that one. ESPN 2 at 9 p.m. has Oregon State at San Francisco in the West Coast Conference as we get into the West Coast games here late at night. Oregon State coming off getting blown out by Gonzaga. What else is new? They're going on the road to face San Francisco. They actually beat San Francisco at home earlier this year, so I don't know. There's a potential maybe they don't totally take San Francisco that seriously. San Francisco has fallen quite a bit in the standings here, man. San Francisco coming into this one, losing to St. Mary's in the last game, which is a tough game, but it was a blowout loss, so I don't think they're going to be hung over or anything like that. I would have to look towards San Francisco in this one. They're actually an 8.5-point favorite, believe it or not. It is a low total, but I think when the public looks at this game, they're going to think, oh, these teams have very similar records. Oregon State is one of the former big boys, so 8.5 looks too big, I think, to the public eye, but I'm not sure that it is. San Francisco's definitely the better team. They're going to be the team that's the avenging team here at the very least. So I like San Francisco on that one if I was going to play it. San Francisco were 4.5-point favorites when they lost that game at Oregon State. So, and of course, Oregon State, I mean, these West Coast teams having to go to Oregon State, it's still an unfamiliar venue for them to have to go to. So, and for Oregon State, they're still probably not used to all these venues in this conference. So I think the home advantage is a little bit bigger. I told you this conference has a big home advantage this year. That's part of the reason why, because you have all these teams that are new and newish to the conference or whatever, so the home advantage just becomes bigger for that reason. ESPN, 9 p.m. has Memphis at North Texas. When the schedule makers put this one out there, they probably thought this was going to be a better game. North Texas having a bad season. Memphis is at least better than their record looks. Memphis on a 2-game win streak. They just beat Charlotte in their last game. No big deal there. But they already beat North Texas once in an ugly, low-scoring game by 9 points. But it might cause them to not take North Texas seriously. Memphis does have a TV game up on Saturday against Utah State, which is a big game. I don't know what that is. I don't know why they have to play Utah State, an out-of-conference game. They're going to Utah State for that, so they might be looking ahead to that. And they come back. They have to go all the way to Florida after that and play South Florida, who is now atop the American Conference thanks to UAB getting us a win last night and beating Tulsa. So I think it's kind of an overlooked spot for Memphis here, man. I would lean towards North Texas in this one. North Texas did just end a 4-game losing streak with a win over a bad UTSA team, but that might just give them momentum coming into this game. So, yeah, North Texas is the way I would lean in that one. Memphis did drop from a 2-point favorite to a 1-point favorite there. Dirty Sock, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. All right. What else do we have going on here? South Dakota State at Denver. I did take a look at this game. Denver is coming up back-to-back upsets, a huge one of North Dakota State on the road. They were probably double-digit dogs in that one. And I apologize. I was wrong about that game. Like, I thought North Dakota State was going to bounce back in that game. One of you guys in the chat had Denver in that one. So, yeah, you definitely got that one right. I was pretty shocked by that result. But then Denver followed that up by not having a letdown, and they blew out North Dakota on the road, too. And North Dakota's in 3rd place in the conference, and we're 2nd place at the time, I think. So those are 2 big games, man. And Denver does have a TV game against Omaha, who already beat them in Denver this year. That's what they have next on deck, and Omaha did win the conference last year in the Summit, even though I didn't think they were even that good. So there is the potential that Denver's actually going to overlook South Dakota State here, man. Although they did lose to South Dakota State already by 8 on the road, but I would have to lean to South Dakota State in this one, man. South Dakota State, they just took a pretty ugly loss as a favorite at home against their in-state little brother, South Dakota. 11.5-point favorites are what South Dakota State was in that game. And you know I talk about when a team is a huge favorite, comes off a loss like that, and you can kind of maybe explain it because they were coming off a game against St. Thomas the game before that, which was big, although it wasn't a close game. South Dakota probably got up for that game as the in-state little brother. But this looks like a bounce-back spot to me for South Dakota State and a letdown for Denver. So I worry because Denver's win over North Dakota was not nearly as big as the North Dakota State one, though. They were only like 3.5-point dogs at North Dakota. But South Dakota State would be the way I would look at this game. Money line, probably. They're up from pick'em to 1. So the money looks like it may be coming in on them early in that game. But, yeah, that's the way I would look in that one towards South Dakota State. I think they're probably a little bit better than their record looks to. As the odds makers are telling you, they're the better team by enough that they're a road favorite here. Even though their record is actually worse than Denver's, they're not the worst team. So that's the way I would look in that one. A few issues with it, though, and of course, Denver, there is the potential that Denver doesn't overlook them, though. Again, because they did already lose to South Dakota State. And South Dakota State is usually one of the bigger name teams in that conference. Big Sky has some interesting scenarios. Weber State at Idaho. Weber State, nice bounce-back win for them over Northern Arizona. No big deal there. It doesn't mean they'll have momentum coming into this. They already lost at home by 8 to Idaho, so they're an avenging road team in this one, which is something I do like to look at. Idaho is up above them in the stand. Or no, Idaho's slightly below them in the standings, excuse me. Actually, that might be one issue with looking towards Weber here is that maybe Idaho will still focus on them because Weber's ahead of them in the standings. But Idaho's coming off playing really tough games at the Montanas, and they played pretty close against both Montana teams. Montana State and Montana, they're road underdogs in both of those. Montana and Montana State are second and third in the conference. So those are big games, and they have Idaho State on deck. And they actually lost to Idaho State the first time. So that's the Idaho rivalry. And Idaho State has been on a big slide, but they did actually beat Idaho. So Idaho does have a rivalry revenge game next. And Portland State on deck after that. I worry that Idaho, because they've lost 2 games in a row and they're back home, they might actually still show up, though. And they did lose the last time they were at home. So there are a few things that might be positive for Idaho here, although the spot does look still fairly difficult. I would take the points with Weber State if I was going to play it. Idaho down from 6.5 to 6 there. Don't know if them being a 6-point favorite is really warranted either. If we look at the first matchup between the two, what was the number here? Let me see. It was Idaho 1.5, so that line's not too far off, but still. Yeah, that's the way I would look at that game. It would be to lean towards Weber. And then we have Idaho State at Eastern Washington. Idaho State, they're on this huge skid. They've lost a bunch of games in a row. So you got to think they will show up, even though they do have Idaho on deck. That's a big rivalry still for them, but they did beat Idaho already, so they might actually not look ahead to that. They actually lost horribly to Eastern Washington already by 18 points at home, so this is a big road revenge spot for them in this one. I like that angle. Eastern Washington just pulled off road upsets of Montana and Montana State. The Montana State one was a 5.5. I thought it would have been bigger, but Eastern Washington, they're not as bad as their record looks. They just had a really difficult out-of-conference schedule. So there is that, but still, that was a pretty big upset nonetheless. Now they're coming back home off of those big games. They got Weber State on deck, which is actually a revenge game because Weber actually beat them in Weber earlier this year. So, yeah, this spot, I would have to fade Eastern Washington in this one. I like Idaho State in that one. Eastern Washington down from 4 to 3.5 there. That one doesn't make my card, but that's, definitely have an opinion on that game. All right. Let me see. What else did I want to look at here? Utah Valley and Utah Tech. I don't know if there was anything interesting about this game or not. Utah Valley's on a 3-game roll here. They did already beat Utah Tech once at home, so I guess it's possible they overlooked them. I guess the big deal is that Utah Valley has Cal Baptist on deck, and they already lost once to Cal Baptist. I think, they're 1-1 against Cal Baptist. The home team winning each game, but Cal Baptist is actually ahead of them in the standings right now with the tiebreaker, so that's a big game on deck, so they might overlook Utah Tech here, man. Utah Tech coming into this off a win over UT Arlington and staying at home. They have Cal Baptist on deck too, but I think it's a bigger game for Utah Tech. They might consider themselves to be a little brother in Utah to Utah Valley at this point too. Utah Valley's laying 7.5 in this one on the road. I'd probably take the points with Utah Tech in that one. ESPNU, for some reason, for a whack game that they're actually choosing to televise, is UT Arlington and Abilene Christian. I don't know why they're televising this game. It's a Texas rivalry game, I guess, but this is a bad game, dude. These teams are not good. UT Arlington won the first matchup at home by 10. No, I don't think there's really a whole lot to glean from that, although, I guess it will be a revenge game for Abilene Christian for that reason. UT Arlington is playing a third road game in a row, but they got blown out by Utah Valley in the last game, like I said, so I'm not going to say they're not going to show up for this, although 3 road games in a row that's a little bit difficult. But Abilene Christian just almost upset Cal Baptist on the road, like I said, so they're coming off a big performance coming into this one, so even though this is a revenge spot for them, I think the spot actually sets up a little bit better for Arlington, because I don't like when a team's coming off a big game like that and just fell short. UT Arlington's -1. Maybe it looks too easy to play UT Arlington, though, based on the team's records and whatever, and the public might get involved in this game because it is on TV. They'll play UT Arlington probably as well. Looks pretty easy to do it. Pick the winner, but I'd probably lean that way as well. UT Arlington money line. Not a game that I want anything to do with, though. All right. I don't know. These Big West games, I don't know if I had any... I don't know if there were any situations in here that I was really looking at. Let me see here. I don't know. I usually kind of remember what I was thinking. Well, Hawaii did just beat UC San Diego, which was an in-season revenge game. They beat the team that won the conference last year finally. So that was a big game for Hawaii. They actually came back home for one game, and now they have to go back to California, which is a little bit weird. And they played the worst team in the conference, basically, in Bakersfield. And they have a somewhat bigger game on deck with Northridge. So I guess it's possible they overlook Bakersfield here. Bakersfield's on this huge slide. They covered for us in one of their games recently against Irvine, I think is when we played them, and they barely got the cover, although they were covering more easily prior to that. I would probably take the points with Bakersfield in this one, though. Hawaii's a 13-point favorite. 67% of tickets, 65% of the cash on them. They look like the public side with less of the money. Totals in the 140s, which isn't that high. Bakersfield, real ugly, but Hawaii's going to have to deal with playing on that ugly Bakersfield Roadrunners court, though, that you can see right there on my screen. The navy blue court or whatever it is. Not navy, but whatever the hell their blue is. It's almost like a dark powder blue. Roadrunner blue. As far as the other games in this conference, UC Santa Barbara just beat UC Irvine, so that is a big deal. That was a big game. UC Irvine is atop the conference right now, or they were, actually. They're tied with Hawaii. That was a big win for UC Santa Barbara, man. So they could be in a letdown simply coming off of that. They haven't played Riverside yet this year, I don't think. Don't have a big game on deck against Cal Poly, though, so this would just simply be a potential letdown spot here. UC Riverside is coming back home after they lost 2 road games. They lost last time at home against Cal Poly, which isn't very good. I think they'll show up for this one, man. I would have to lean towards fading Santa Barbara on this one. They're down from 8 to 6.5, so some of the money looks like it is agreeing with me on that, and you've lost the key number 7 there, though. Total in the 140s, but yes, I would lean towards taking the points with Riverside. But, again, you're losing some value on that now. And then, of course, on the other side of that, UC Irvine is coming off that big game against UC Santa Barbara, and they lost a 4-game win streak with that loss. And now they have Cal Poly on the road. I don't think they played them yet this year, but, yeah, they play them later this year. But it could be a hangover spot for them coming into this one, man. Cal Poly, not a very good team. Definitely easy to overlook, at least. Cal Poly coming off a couple losses in a row. They got Santa Barbara on deck, but I don't think they're going to overlook UC Irvine, so I would probably take the points in this one, too. Although in this one, the money looks like it's coming in on Irvine. They're up from 7 to 7 with juice. 67% of tickets, 94% of the cash on Irvine. Don't really agree with that one, though. I would lean towards taking the points in that one. All right, NBA. I don't have any plays in the NBA, and then I'll be done for the show here. Last NBA day before the All-Star break, which is going to be ugly, although I might mention the All-Star game. I know I didn't mention the Pro Bowl in the NFL, by the way. I apologize, which was on Tuesday before the Super Bowl, but there's just nothing to say about it. But in the NBA, I might mention the three-point contests and or the dunk contest. I don't know which days those are on. I'll figure it out. We got 3 games today in the NBA, Milwaukee and Oklahoma City. Both teams played yesterday. Milwaukee did get the zigzag upset yesterday at Orlando. So I was right about, you look at all these games I was right about. I go 1-3 in the NBA, and then I was right about all these other games in the NBA. That's just fucking great, including that one. Milwaukee zigzagged and got the upset win. Now they're playing a third road game in the last 4 days, which is not that easy to do, although at least the first 2 are in one city, Orlando. They're coming off an upset, but I mean, Milwaukee's not going to overlook the Thunder, though, so, it's not, I don't know. I mean, the spot is not exactly horrible for the Bucks, especially given that Oklahoma City is in a similar situation where they're playing a third game in 4 days. For them, it was all in different cities. And they're actually returning home from a quick road trip where they went to L.A. and Phoenix. They beat the Lakers, although it was a Lakers team with a lot of injuries. I mean, we know Luka's been out, but I keep forgetting to mention that Reeves has been out again. LeBron has been out. It's a mash unit of a Lakers team there. Still pretty big when you beat the Lakers on the road, though. And then Oklahoma City pounded Phoenix last night on the road. That was a nice win for OKC. And this is an OKC team without SGA. Although they're still a really deep team. They're still a very good team even without him. This is an Amazon Prime game. I don't know, man. Coming back home for OKC, I actually probably would lean to Milwaukee plus the points here. OKC did go down from 14 to 12.5. 76% of the tickets and 83% of the cash on the Thunder. I know the Thunder are good at home, but I don't know. This is just such a weird game, man. No SGA, no Giannis. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot else to say about it, but got to actually, I guess, look and see what's going on with Jalen Williams for Oklahoma City, see if he's playing or not. It looks like he exited the game against the Suns and didn't come back, so we don't know if he's going to play or not. They might just let him rest into the All-Star break at this point. So I don't know. It's a very, very weird game. Some of these games right before the All-Star break, especially with teams that played yesterday, and that is the case with Portland and Utah as well, because almost every team played yesterday. These two teams also did. Portland got blown out by Minnesota yesterday, but now they're having to travel from Minnesota to Utah. I said I was going to look towards Utah here if Portland played well against Minnesota yesterday, but they did not. So maybe they'll come, with a little bit more focus in this game against Utah, but I don't know, man. And for Utah, they just beat Sacramento at home, unfortunately for me. I thought that was a horrible spot for Utah in the return home spot. The Sacramento team is just beyond repair at this point, and they have none of their starters playing. So there's not a whole lot to look at there, but I don't know. I guess when you're Utah and you beat a team by almost 30 points, it's a pretty satisfying win, I guess, when you do that. Now they get Portland coming in here. We got to look at who's on the injury report in all these games. Let me see. It's not really, there's not a whole lot going on. No real change for these teams on the injury report from one game to the next. Portland's a 7.5-point favorite in this one. Utah, 62% of tickets, 74% of the cash coming in Utah. I just don't know if the Blazers should be really laying this many points on the road, man. They're not that much better on the road than Utah is at home, so I would probably lean towards taking the points with Utah. in that one, even though Utah, I usually don't like a team that's coming off a blowout win against a team coming off a blowout loss, but Portland's game was still the bigger game yesterday. I don't know, and they are still having to travel, probably slightly into Utah, but I got nothing on that really. And then Amazon Prime, the doubleheader. The second game is two teams that didn't play yesterday, Dallas and the Lakers, to finish this off. And, of course, it is the Lakers with no Luka, but it looks like LeBron and Reeves might actually play tonight because they're not listed on the injury report. So that's something to keep track of, see if those guys are playing for the Lakers. They're a 7.5-point favorite, up from 7. 87% of tickets, 97% of the cash on the Lakers, so maybe. I don't know if that means they're playing or not, man. It's tough for me to gauge what that line really means, man. Dallas, I think Dallas is still kind of an undervalued team right now, though, man, because if you look at their stretch of games here, yeah, it looks really bad. They've lost 8 games in a row, but the worst team they lost to in that entire stretch was the Charlotte Hornets, and the Hornets are not that bad. Look at the other losses they had. They lost to L.A., who they're playing tonight, the Lakers. So this is actually a bit of a road revenge spot for Dallas because the Lakers beat them in Dallas on January 24th. So the Lakers might not take them that seriously for that reason. Dallas lost to Minnesota. Charlotte, of course, like I said, by 2 points. They lost at Houston by 4. They lost to Boston. They lost to San Antonio twice. And then they lost to Phoenix. At Phoenix on Tuesday. So they're not losing to bad teams here, man. So I think Dallas is the way to look in this game. Dallas has been under the radar. And if you get this Lakers team bringing back a LeBron and or Reeves coming, if they're playing in this game, that's going to be like kind of a reverse injured player spot for the Lakers as well, where the line has to adjust to those guys coming back. It might over-adjust. Now, the Lakers are staying at home, so there are some things that are better for the Lakers in this game, and they got blown out by San Antonio on Tuesday at home. So I guess a couple of things to maybe like about the Lakers here, but I would probably have to lean to Dallas in this one. If I was going to play it, it would be Dallas plus the points. And that's going to do it, man, especially if those guys are coming back for the Lakers and you get more line value on Dallas. That's the way I would look. That's going to do it, man. Thanks for hanging out, people. One more time, my 2 plays today. 2 underdogs that are in the big sandwiches that we have on the junk college basketball board. We're going to be on Elon because he's so hot, man. We're going to be on Elon plus 7.5 and then Tennessee Tech plus 4.5. Those are my 2 plays. Let's get back on the winning side here, man. To have a winning night, we're going to need to either win both or one of them is going to need to win outright. So hopefully that can happen. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Subscribe to me on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Subscribe to the channel here, man. Toad Stool Sports, of course. Give me good replies here. Listen on audio. Give me good reviews on audio. Spotify, Apple. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel on YouTube. I did a cover of the Dawson's Creek theme song for James Vanderbeek, which I haven't put on the YouTube channel yet, but I will. I know I have to get the Patreon up to date, man. Patreon.com/LearnToToad. Got to pay more attention to it. I apologize. Got to get the that audio feed up to date because there's a Spotify Uke feed if you want it there. I will put out an updated bracketology. I'll probably just tweet it out. I don't know if down the road, as we really get close to bracket time, maybe I'll start doing that show a couple times a week. I don't know, though. Doesn't get good views, so I don't know if it's worth the time. But I'll tweet out an updated bracketology tonight probably. And then I think, Losercast, of course. Yeah, go check that out. We had a new episode the other night. I thought it was a funny one. You go check that out too. That's going to do it. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. It should be a small board. It's going to be only college basketball as we're during the hockey Olympic break and it's the All-Star break for NBA. So, yeah, it'll be just college basketball and probably not a ton of it. And then I'll have to do the huge Saturday board for college basketball. But I'm not going to be out tomorrow night, so I should have time to do it. That's going to do it. Peace for now.